Thanks, Rachel. I think that's it,
Now
isn't
mine,
it?
Chair.
Okay, thanks. Good evening. I'm Councillor Chris Payne, Chair of this committee. I would like to inform everyone present that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet via the Council's website and will be capable of repeated viewing. The images and sound recording may be used for training purposes within the Council. In order to ensure that the meeting is managed effectively, can everybody please keep to the following guidelines for speaking? Councillors should only use the raise your hand function to request to speak and only speak when invited to do so by the chair. Please switch off your camera and microphone when not speaking, and remember to set your mobile phone to silent for the duration of the meeting. Any views expressed by any speaker in this meeting are the speaker's own, and they do not necessarily reflect the views of the council. Please can councillors be aware that the webcast will be continued to be streamed live 20 seconds after the close of the meeting. This is due to a time delay in transmitting live. I will now confirm the names of the other members of this committee: Councillor Bell, Councillor Clark, Councillor Collins, Councillor Cross, Councillor Gruby, Councillor R. McEwen, Councillor Quinn, Councillor Reddy, Councillor Siddle, Councillor Sizeland and Councillor Joe Taylor. And I don't think we have any apologies for absence so far, Rachel, unless something's changed.
No apologies for absence, Chair.
No, I haven't had any either. Okay, so I think there's no apologies for absence. Second item on the agenda then is to receive disclosures of interest on any matters before the committee. Firstly, any disclosable pecuniary interests? No, okay. Or any other interests? Okay. Move to the third item on the agenda. Any matters referred to the committee under the call-in procedure? I'm not aware of any, Rachel, unless any came in between us last talking about this.
No, none, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So item 4 on the agenda, to approve the minutes of the previous meeting, which is in pages 3 to 6 of the agenda. Has anybody got any comments or questions on the minutes of the last meeting? No? Okay. Could I have someone to propose the minutes of the last meeting then, please? I think that was, I've got Councillor Joanna Collins and Councillor R. McEwen. Thank you. So item 5 is the Select Committee Work Programme, which is on pages 7 to 10. Has anybody got any comments on those whilst I refresh them on my screen so that I can look at them at the same time? Okay, I've got one question. I think it's mainly for you, Martin. I think it's something we sort of normally talk about when we get to this item on the agenda, and it's are there any potential sort of conflicts going on in the ability for the council to deliver based on the amount of work that has to happen in local government reorg, or are we sort of fairly well balanced at the moment?
It's a really good question. So in the alliance, of course, we're still in that alliance, then we've had a real success in terms of recruitment and retention, and as Tanya's on the call, she could probably talk a bit more about that. So we're in a really good position from having a full complement of staff. That's not to say it's static, of course. We employ many hundreds of people, but from that perspective, as we go into LGR, then we're in good shape from our own requirements. Clearly, LGR, and the further we go into it, the more challenging it will get, and the more difficult, or the more clarity we'll have, I suppose, is probably more important. The more clarity we'll have on the shape of the future, the timing of the future as well, and I think for us, the biggest risk in relation to your question, Chris, is whether or not we can push these two LGR programs at the same time. A difference of timing in Staffordshire or Derbyshire would cause us a real serious challenge to overcome, but that's not lost on all of our partners and other councils in Derbyshire or Staffordshire for that matter, and indeed the government. So that has been written into the LGR submission in terms of dealing with the alliance. But from our perspective, I hope Tanya would agree, but we're in a pretty good position from in terms of the level of vacancies that we're carrying compared to where we have been historically. So, Tanya?
Yeah, just to sort of reiterate that we are not experiencing significant recruitment problems across the board at the moment. We have one or two areas where we normally struggle, but it's no different to usual. So, but things we're still attracting a significant number of applicants for the majority of jobs that we've got going out, and the calibre of the applicants remains good.
Yeah, does that answer the
Oh, that's
question?
positive. Yeah, that does. I
Yeah,
think it's
thank you.
positive
Thanks,
and good to
Tanya.
hear. And I think it's one of those questions we just have to ask regularly, Martin, because we do sit in that sort of unique position of having alliance. I don't think there are any others in the country that are quite like ours, straddling to different future unitary authorities.
Yes, being across two counties is the complication for us, but the LGR submissions and all of the timings at the moment are going along the same trajectory for Staffordshire as they are for Derbyshire.
Okay. Has anybody else got any other questions? Okay, thanks, Martin. Thanks, Tanya. So I think that allows us to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is item 6, which is the second quarter finance performance and procurement report, which is on pages 11 to 60. And I think this is over to you, Alan, yes?
Yep, that's fine. I propose to change the way I present this tonight. I'll do a couple of sections, then I'll stop and pause and ask for any questions. So we'll see how it goes, hopefully. Right. Good evening, all. The general fund currently is looking as though it's going to be about 2/3 of £1 million underspent, and that's actually down £1.3 million from quarter one, and I will go through and explain why that is. Basically, there are a number of items. I'll tell you what they are, and then I'll cover them later on as we get to the relevant sections. There's 243,000 in respect to Pavilion Gardens potential closure. We're not too sure yet as regards to that. It's all to do with the planned works on the roof and the heating, and at the moment this is a financial if you like check that we need to put in place just in case the works require that. So I'm not actually saying that the thing's going to close or not, but it may well do. It's certainly loss of income against that. There's 109,000 increased borrowing costs, 105,000 customer service vacancy savings being moved into the efficiency, and there's some extra costs for the CCTV relating to equipment upgrades and things, which I'll come to as we go through the account. Right. The efficiency programme is £220,000, and that exceeds our target. So we've actually currently exceeded our yearly target, which is good. HRA in terms of that will be 1.046 million expected to be overspent, i.e. we'll use reserves, and that's 24. It's gone down 24,000 on quarter one. The capitals basically remain as both the general fund and the HRA both remain generally the same. Sundry debtors, it says here that the sundry debt is at the end of quarter two was 430,000 again, which is similar to quarter one. But I do know that DCC have paid a significant amount of money off that. So watch this space when we come to quarter three. And Martin's just put his hand up, which is probably going to tell me exactly the same. Martin.
Over to you,
No,
Martin.
it's actually there's two reasons why a debt might clear. One is that they've paid it, and the other is that it gets credited. So, unfortunately, it's the latter. Having done some digging around, so you're correct, Councillor Barrow. That was the explanation I got on the first occasion when I inquired. How's it dropped? The reason that we've represented the bills is that we're making an adjustment to bring the bills into line with the RICS, Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, to make sure that we've got them absolutely top notch. So the debt is still due. It's just that it's not within our aged debt profile now.
Okay.
So apologies. I should have warned you about that.
I think actually you did. I think you mentioned it last week in our meeting. But anyway, that's fair enough. Where am I? Collection rates, both business rates and council tax are as they should be in terms of this time of year. Now then, if we sort of look at things in a little bit more detail, we'll talk about the services that have projected significant underspends and then overspends, and then I'll stop and ask if anybody wants to talk, ask me any questions. So if you look at section 2.5, there are 4 service areas that are projected to have significant underspends, and significant underspends is greater than £50,000. Regeneration is just over 400,000 projection, and the Springs is forecast to be positive around 304,000, which is better than quarter one, because quarter one said it was going to be only 183. So that's improving, and we'll look at the Springs in more detail as we get to that section. Economic development budgets are £67,000 are underutilised. And this is as the focus is on the UK SPF projects currently. These budgets will be spent hopefully by the end of the year. That's just as we are at the moment. Customer services, £55,000 underspent, relates to underspend in terms of staff vacancies. That's something that both Tanya and Martin alluded to a few minutes ago. Customer services is unfortunately the place that all our other departments seem to get. You come into the council customer services, and then you progress up through the into other departments. So we have to be careful that we don't take too many into customer services. Corporate finance, basically corporate finance held budgets will remain. There are some unallocated funds here. It was 95,000 in quarter one. It's now down to 27,000 unallocated. 236,000 budgets to be reviewed and allocated as the year progresses, and more is known about the impacts and charges, including simpler recycling, which we'll talk about later on. Simpler recycling is when we're collecting household food waste. That's what simpler recycling is all about. And of course, LGR. There are 6 areas of significant overspends. Transformation, that's 109,000, owing to the expenditure on some external HR capacity and local government reorganisation project. And that's hopefully, didn't make sense what I was about to say, which will be funded in the first instance by reserves created 24-25, because obviously we knew then that there was LGR and the like, so reducing that overspend by £100,000 using some earmark reserves. ICT, external support to review in light of LGR, because obviously, as you'll see later on, we'll talk about some of the actual systems that we're not going to renew. We're going to, because we're going to be out theoretically come March 28, the High Peak won't exist. We'll be in a North Derbyshire probably, and therefore we are doing some work to actually look at what our future partners are currently using for all the systems, and Tanya has done a great deal of work on that, and so it means there's no point in spending. We were going to spend about £2 million on 2 systems that are coming to the end, but we're not going to spend that money in now. Waste collection, 240,000, 165,000 expenditure on the changes of the food waste collection, which is that, as I was saying, Simply Recycling. 45,000 net overspend through AES provision of services from a forecast loss and the pay award costs. 34,000 net overspend on other items, primarily bulk facility gate fee charges from County Council. When we collect all our goods and we take them to Water Swallows, then there is a charge that we have to pay to DCC for that facility, because DCC run Water Swallows, and that's a £34,000 increase. Leisure services, 461, potentially overspent, 218 of which is on Newmilns Leisure Centre project, and that's to be funded by Leisure Centre reserves, and potential income pressure on the concession during works closure. Excuse me. And last 2, communities and cultural, 102,000 unbudgeted spend on agency staff, expenditure on climate change commitments of 43,000 in excess of budget to be funding from a reserve we have for climate change itself. And the last one before I stop for, oh no, I've got a little bit more on this section, sorry. Community safety and enforcement, this is the CCTV overspend, £86,000 owing to recent price increases, and a review is expected to potentially reduce the number and type of lines required. And we've got about 35,000 in a reserve set aside for that, so that'll help it a little bit. There is an overspend. There is an overspend on of 256,000 forecast on net interest costs, as details in section 9, and I'll come more on section 9. Ed, you got a question?
Yeah, the closure of the Pavilion Gardens has actually been in a magazine that me and Martin have had privy to see this
You
week.
mean the Pewter?
Yeah, yeah, I think that was it. Yeah, if there is a closure, obviously the Pavilion Arts Centre is used by the Buxton Opera House for various different things, including the cinema and live performances. So obviously, if that's got to close for that period, what's the compensation for any of our third party or our tenants? Because obviously they're renting that route.
I'll let Martin answer that.
Martin?
Yeah, so the magazine article didn't come from the council because we're still working through exactly what arrangements need to be made. So anybody that's been past there will have seen the scaffoldings up, and we've got the roofing works commencing. So that is clearly not as intrusive as the heating works that were signed off, but we're still commissioning somebody to work that up with us. So we're out to the market to try to find an organisation that can phase it in such a way to minimise the impact operationally for every tenant and our customers in there. So until we've got that, we won't know what we need to do, and of course we'll communicate and liaise with the tenants around those circumstances once we have the details. But at the moment, it was a bit of a rogue article because it didn't reflect the reality of any timings, etc.
No, it's not helpful, is it, when people put things in the press that are not entirely true? But it is what it is now, isn't it?
Yeah, but what I can assure you is that once we have the timings, that our tenants will be some of the first to know, and that we'll communicate that properly through formal council channels.
Brilliant. Cheers, Martin. Thank you.
No problem.
As I say, can I stress this is a financial thing that we felt it was prudent to put something in, which is effectively quarter of a million quid potential, but it may, watch this space in terms of that.
Well,
And
the
as I
roof
s-
can't be the roof can't be left to rot either, can it? So
Well,
something has to be
that's
done.
very true, that Chair, very, very true. But it depends on how much intrusion we can, how much roof repairs we can do without any intrusion to various parts of the buildings, and it's quite extensive, as you well know, in terms of
I've
the
got a
roof
quote.
repairs.
Yeah, I've got a question, Alan. So going back to the line on the leisure services,
Yeah,
we've got 461,500, of which 218,100 is the expenditure on the new Mills Leisure Centre.
mhm.
I take it the delta between the 218 and the 461 is expenditure on all the other leisure services in High Peak.
Well, below it, it
Um,
says potential income pressure on concessions during works closure. So
So yeah, but if I add up the 218 180 and the 254 160, unless I've got this wrong, that doesn't come to the 461 550.
it comes to 472. It comes to more.
It comes to more. So that's sort of getting.
Something offsets it. Keith's the
Go on then,
guy.
Keith. Go on.
Yeah, the report just reflects the major variance. Amongst the rest of the service, there are many little ups and downs that account for the small
Yeah.
discrepancy between those two main items and the headline figure.
Fab. Thanks, Keith. Sorry, Councillor Groovy.
Yeah, just while we're in that section and the Buxton Pool energy efficiency line, where are we up to with actually connecting up the solar panels that we've got on there now?
Ah, now then, is Martin going to jump in here, or am I going to speculate? No. Yes, he is. I do know, Linda, but I'll let Martin.
Yeah,
Okay.
all I was going to say is we'd have to come back to you on the specifics of that, because we're not far away, but I would rather come back with an exact answer on that. So if you'll bear with me, please, Councillor Groovy, I'll get back to you properly.
I will try.
I know you will ask me again if I do forget, so that's all right too.
Indeed. Okay, we'll move on then. Thank you.
I thought that
So
might
Alan,
be. Sorry, go on.
so Alan, back to you for the next section. I think this is
Okay,
working well.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, we're still carrying on with this section very slightly. We're talking about solely now external funding. The external funding, it's going to be slightly down by 21,000 over Q1, but it's still 1.026 million. So it's still a lot of money that we're getting in. The Derbyshire business rates pool savings is estimated to be 156,000 less than anticipated. However, this is subject to change because the levy fluctuates on all the other members of Derbyshire that that partake it and put money into the pool and take money out of it. So that's a moving feast as always. So we'll watch this space at the end of Q4. S31 grants associated with small business rates, which is what that is the money that government pay us when they give a grant out to for business rates, so the council don't lose money. Then that's part and parcel of where that's an S31 grant. So business rates and other reliefs forecast is to be almost 180,000 less than forecast. These grants are received in general fund in the year, but the associated increase in the collection fund deficit due to the award of reliefs will impact from future years. Therefore, this excess will be put into reserves to fund the distribution of collection fund. So if there is an increase, if there is a any money coming in, then that will go straight into reserves. Other external funding is exactly the same as it was in Q1. Other movements in reserves, the first section's exactly the same as Q1. Other earmarked reserves of 366,000. These reserves will exist to match available funding with future projects and activities. And then I've talked about the efficiency programme, and if you look at table on 3.4, you'll see that we've actually made more than we were actually wanting to save. So that's good. So we're ahead of the game on that. Does anybody any questions on the efficiency scheme before I start on the the council companies? Nope. Right. Yes. Basically, the company has budgeted a profit for 40,710 quid to attribute to the councils, but it is now forecasting a loss of 73,000. So that's a change of 113,000. So, but a lot of that, in terms of where that actually is down to forecast joint. It is down to the operating loss. I've no more information. There's no more information in here in terms of that. Keith, do you know anything about why that? I was looking to look for that. I'm going to talk to you about it.
The business plan for the for AES budgets for a surplus, a profit.
Yeah,
there's some pressures and that are coming in which will lead to a loss being reported, but it's a bit of a technical one really, because within the company there are reserves held. But it does report a forecast and a loss of 73,000 on the year. There are an awful lot of moving parts on the AES budget. They manage a huge budget on behalf of the council for waste collection and environmental services, and they do swing quite a little sometimes with regard to such variants as fuel costs for the fleet and recycling income from the sale of the goods, the sale of the material that they collect, which fluctuates on a global market and can swing one way and to the other. So it really does. We report here the latest position based on the quarter two meetings that we've had with the company.
Thank you, Keith. I thought that was the reason, but I thought I'd ask the font of all knowledge. Sorry, Keith. Any questions on Norse before I move on to Alliance? Any questions on AES before I go on to Norse? Nope. Okay. Then.
There's one from Alan. There's one from Bob McEwen.
Oh, and Bob.
Bob was first, and then Joanna.
He's on silent, but I think is he asking a question? You're on mute, Bob.
Yeah, I'm on now. I'm not very impressed with AES. Not very good at the bulky item collections. They promised numerous times they'll come and collect things. They're still there. I've had to deal with one again tonight when I come in. The difficulty in people getting refunds when they've already paid to have the large items recycled. And if I don't get anywhere in the morning, I'll be putting a formal complaint in. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Joanna?
Yes, I mean, I do agree. I agree with Bob and Kieran that the AES have not been as good as in the past. We've had lots of complaints about missed bins, confusing information. But actually, that isn't what I was going to say. I was actually going to go back to the efficiency savings.
Yep.
Sorry about that. I didn't get my hand up quickly enough. Yeah, £500,000 seems an awful lot as a contingency to put into efficiency savings. I mean, it almost seems to me to be a contradiction, given that the efficiency savings aren't huge in themselves. I mean, it's great that, you know, we've surpassed them this year, or potentially surpassed them, but yeah, it just seems an awful lot of money to be in that budget line.
Well, I saw
Yeah,
that
but
Martin's.
we haven't used the reserves yet, but that's just that's what they call a usable reserve. Where I'll let Martin.
Yeah, I just think it's
answer that
very
one.
high. I can see you might need it, but
Yeah. It was the case is that the efficiency program is a program that aggregates year on year. So we've got to save that amount each year in the medium term financial plan. So it's bigger than it might look when you look at one single year. The reason that we put that aside was High Peak Borough Council's been delivering an efficiency program actually for a very, very long time. And of course, the challenge there of keep trying to deliver efficiencies is that the easier ones to get have already been done, and that the harder ones to get are where we are now. So we know, and by the way, what I should also qualify my answer with is that when we talk efficiency, we don't just mean taking out costs. It includes an aspect of that.
Says me
But
saying it.
Yeah. So it also includes how can we derive more income? How can we get more sales for the services that we have? And so, for example, if we're to open up new avenues of income, we know that we don't have the workforce capability or capacity actually with commercial salespeople, for example, salespeople at all in within the council. So it may be that if we want to open up new avenues, we would have to invest ahead of time before we deliver. And equally, some of the more difficult things to get to, which, as I say, the programme generally is now anyway. For example, if we look at our assets, it might be that we have to invest in the shape of those assets before we can get them to the market. So we need that, and equally, as you can imagine, that that level of money doesn't last very long in either of those two scenarios when you talk about those sorts of assets or indeed new avenues to proceed for commercial opportunities. So we have, as Councillor Barrow said, we've not spent it yet, but the longer we go on, the more we get into the really difficult to yield things, and that they're going to take some money to invest to get the back. So
as well, I'm finding AES like hard to get in touch with. I'm finding it less satisfying in terms of the service that they're providing, and that's made me a little bit concerned about efficiency savings or programs, because there does come a point where you're not actually providing the service that you want for people, and that is a concern. The other I was thinking about the other day when our food waste wasn't collected, and of course for a lot of people, you know, they were told to leave their bins out. They leave their bins out if their bins are damaged or knocked over or go missing. That's going to be a problem for residents. So we should have capacity whereby we don't have a whole swathe of people who aren't getting things picked up because we don't have capacity for it. Another thing I was going to ask about, have we projected ahead if it is going to cost us money in terms of the simpler recycling? I think I saw one of the figures was that the people using the garden waste recycling might go down to about 50%. And I know certainly where I am, a lot of people are going, well, I'm just going to be bunging it in the black bin. Is that going to cost us? And have we projected ahead if it is going to cost us in terms of landfill and where our rubbish is going to go?
Martin?
Yes, Councillor Quinn, what an excellent way to try to derive value for money there with a whole bumper bundle of questions and comments. So I'll try and pick them off, but if I do miss anything, Councillor Quinn, just let me know. So, and I'm sure Councillor Barrow would back me up here, and I'll say it before he would, that the whole efficiency programme had two really overriding themes. And the first theme was that the efficiency program would not, should not have any material detrimental effect to any service that we offer to our customers. And there's nothing in the efficiency program that would have led to any of the problems being encountered with AES. However, just on saying that, we will take that back to report back to them to see whether there's been any operational challenges or difficulties, just to understand why several of you are reporting a challenge around similar things. So so just to be clear then, the efficiency program, there is no intended material change to anything that AES does in the way that it provides services to our residents, or indeed our businesses where we're collecting business waste. And I know Councillor Barrow would have held me to that throughout, and does throughout the whole of the delivery of this efficiency programme. The other one was about any mandatory or required redundancies, and again, we've not got anything of that sort built in. So those are the two themes. Coming up to your point around the collection of waste into the future and the changes around waste collection, that's more a case and a feed into really to the medium-term financial plan that we'll come on to as the next agenda item as opposed to now. So there's a whole range of grant funding regimes and a need for us to understand our costs and the costing around all of those collections, and that's more a question for next year and onwards, principally. So we will make sure we cover that off when we come to the medium-term financial plan. Was there another part to your question? I have a feeling I've shortchanged you.
I think, Martin,
it's okay. It will come, I'm sure. There'll be later, but I will come back to it. I was having a whinge primarily. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Do you know, I didn't know that. Just as a matter of interest, though, sticking with AES before I get back to the finance thing, I've had a number of issues in my ward, and primarily it's been due to the changes that we've made in terms of days, and we've actually put different crews on different rounds, and it's been primarily niggles. I've had sort of 5 here, 20 there that have been missed off. And it has taken a couple of goes actually to get it right, but they have done, certainly from my ward, they have remedied those. So they are working their way through these changes. I mean, in terms of High Peak, they've changed every round in terms of, and you know, it's just, this is also in preparation for the simpler recycling.
Simpler for whom? So yeah, so the question of, or I suppose the underlying thing to all of that was that none of it was in relation to the efficiency program.
Yeah, that's very true. Okay, where are we now? Norse, are we? That's right. Sorry, I kept my papers on because I went back to the efficiency program. So council, in terms of Norse, Norse pays the provisional outturn shows a surplus of almost 12,000 across the revenue services, and that was down from Q1, which was 22,000, made up of an improvement by 47,000 on the discount and profit for cleaning and caretaking, and 69,000 net underspend on estates, and a shortfall of 66,000 for general fund repairs, and 39,000 on the HRA due to a smaller general capital fund programme, which we'll talk about later. And if you look at the table in 4.6, all of the bottom line there are all underspent, so that's quite good in the end. Right, Alliance Leisure. This is where obviously we've got some issues with Alliance Leisure in terms of, oh, where's that come from? Sorry, that's Q1. I had a rogue page.
Sorry, before you, Alan, before you carry on,
go on.
Councillor Collins had a question.
Sorry.
Yes, I mean, you say that the underspends are good, but actually if there's an underspend on repairs, well, I can see why there might be underspend on the capital programme because it does say that it's been delayed, but generally
Reprofiled.
if there's an okay if there's an underspend on repairs, then I think that's a bit worrying.
Well, if there's nothing needing to be repaired, then that's where the underspend is. I don't know whether or not that's true. I really don't, given that I've got some issues with North as well, but in my ward. But Martin?
Yeah, it's not that there's not things that need repairing and being left undone. It's just more a better management of it. And in fact, one of the things that we asked North to do, and they've taken on board, is to invest some more in our own workforce as opposed to subcontracting in. So that gives us resilience. It gives opportunities for local people, and that's all part of that. So the differences are pretty tiny in comparison to the overall budget for them. But that's the sort of thing that we've asked them to do, and they've stepped up and done it, as well as deriving the best discounts that they can get for products that are bought in to make sure that we get the best value for what they do.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Quinn.
Sorry, I've pressed the wrong bit. Right, okay. I'm probably doing this in the wrong place, but it's got to be mentioned, seeing as we're talking about estates and repairs and management, etc. Toilets. Ages and ages and ages repairing the toilets in Buxton. We got contractors in to do it.
That's capital.
Okay.
Can I come to that later? Can I come to that later?
Okay. Can you mark me off that I'm going to go on about it? Okay.
Well, when we get there, Rachel, I've written it down. Okay.
I won't get away
Alan,
from it, so it doesn't matter.
Carry on.
I'm just trying to make progress. The Alliance Leisure. Sorry, I keep going back. Right.
So Alan, rather than
Yes.
you read out this one, can I ask you a couple of questions?
Yes.
So
Go ahead.
This does go back to Joanna's point, okay, about repairs and renewals. So it is underspent, and I've personally had to chase broken lockers in Buxton Pool. It doesn't seem to be a proactive activity to fix broken things. It seems to be a people using the leisure services have to tell people that things are broken. But also, you know, I'm going to say this, it's now over a year since we set up the leisure services as a separate organisation. I've asked repeatedly for a survey of members to understand what they think of the service and what they would like to see improved. And I see on here that the marketing spend is 26.5 or 26.9 thousand underspent. We've got to get past this point of saying they don't have enough time to do it. It's over a year now. I know we don't move motions at these meetings, but I would like someone to actually take an action away to actually do a marketing survey of the people who use these services. Because at this point, it's just becoming an issue of someone somewhere in this organisation is basically saying, I'm not doing that.
Can I just remind people this is a document, a finance document. I know you're having to go at the service, but unfortunately I can't. Unfortunately, I can't answer all the operational things and queries. And I do know, and I do sympathise with what you're saying, but I don't know why it's not being done. Martin?
Yeah. So there was a couple of bits in there from Councillor Payne. One was the repairs in the leisure centre, but no, Norse don't do that. That's done separately by Parkwood. But nevertheless,
I know, but I'm looking at the table, which is the Alliance Leisure Limited table, not the Norse table. Yeah.
So then the question of surveying the customers, and indeed non-customers as well, because that's important to understand.
Yeah.
I'm going to send a message now to see whether we can get that organised quickly and what the plan of the programme is, because it's an important thing for us to do. So, and I'll report back.
And the point, Alan, is yes, I'm having a bit of a rant about the service, and this isn't about the service, right?
It isn't just you.
No. But if the point is being, if the money isn't spent, then in the following year you end up allocating a lower amount of money into the budget, because that just sort of naturally happens. And I'd hope Martin to keep an eye out and go, well, let's just make sure that doesn't happen, but it can happen. Yeah. So the money's there. That's the point, really. It's evidence that the money's not being spent.
But carrying on from that, I mean, Alliance Leisure is actually not showing a surplus. It's actually showing deficits. When I said I was referring to the previous table, which was that's where you're getting mixed up. If you look at the bottom of table on 4.8, it says deficit. All those, of 111,000.
But very specifically for the line allocated to marketing, it says
yes, I can see that 85,732. Yeah. Yep.
So I get the point that there's not a surplus overall, but there is on a specific budget line. And if the answer is we're choosing not to do the marketing because we're managing the fact that we've got a deficit, then that's an answer, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't. Martin's said taking it on, and
okay.
We're happy with that.
Right,
I mean,
anyway.
we'll have to leave. There's no point in arguing about it now. Not that I would argue.
No. But it's there. Councillor Collins.
Yes, I must say, I feel a bit worried, and I think we've touched on this before, when, okay, we know that this is a finance, if you like, committee to a large extent, but money is there to do things.
Yes.
And sometimes it comes back that, it's okay, we know what's going on. And sometimes the response seems to be to councillors' questions, this is just a finance committee, we don't know what's going on in the background. But I think we need to know why the finances are as they are, because that's what we're here for. We're not here just to sort of look at money and think about money. We're here to deliver services. So if there is, for example, a shortfall or an overspend or whatever, we need to know why. How that affects the council services.
Yeah, the point I was making really is in terms of me personally, that's not my portfolio. Anthony's flagged up now, but to ask me all the different questions, I think is a bit unkind, really. That's the point I was trying to say. Sorry, Joanna, and sorry, colleagues. Anthony.
Thanks, Chair. It was just to advise members that they are looking to recruit a member of staff at Alliance Leisure. The job title is Customer Engagement Lead, which includes some of the items which the Chair has mentioned and has previously mentioned. And I think some of the work will be included within that role. It's got a closing date of the 1st of December, but I think it's a valid point to take back to the SOB board, which I have raised it myself at the last one with the Chair's voice in mind. When they mentioned sort of pending works and pending staffing that they were looking at. Thanks.
So, Andy, I'm going to ask you another question. I need to check, but I don't think I've seen that job advertised on the High Peak Borough Council social media feeds. But I might have just missed it.
I'll double check that with the appropriate staff. I can see I've looked on both the council website and the Alliance Leisure website. They're advertised on the Alliance Leisure website, but for whatever reason, they're not cross-advertised at the moment on the council website. So I'll double. It could be that they've just been advertised, so they may not have made it to our part of the website yet. But I'll double check with staffing because they should be getting advertised on both.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Before I call Councillor Quinn in, Alan, I know that the leader of the council's on here. I'm not aiming at you. I'm taking the information that's on the sheet and hoping that Anthony's picking it up as well. So, okay.
No, no,
Yeah.
no. I just
That is
realised
the
that Anthony
intention,
was
Chair.
on.
If we're hopeful that between ourselves and the rest of the officers, we can answer all the questions. But if not, we do know someone that can.
Right.
Can exactly.
Okay, fine. Councillor Quinn.
Yeah, I'm really conscious now and I'm very worried. I'm not expecting an answer, Alan, but
Go on.
I mean, in terms of the finances, Buxton Pool has got, I think, about 900 members. The Palace Hotel's got about 300 plus members, and it's got a tiny swimming pool and not a lot going on. Now, that's a lot of people who could be increasing the income of Buxton Pool, so it is a finance issue. And of course,
Absolutely.
there are 20,000 people who aren't on those books. So, you know, this is where the marketing and also the health, you know, speaking as chair of community is really important and ties in with the finances as well. So it is something that needs to be taken back. Not expecting anything from you, but it's a point that needs to be made.
Cool.
Okay. Sorry if I gave the
Thanks, Alan.
wrong impression, but it's if I don't know, I'm afraid I can't help. But obviously, Anthony and officers can. So
Thanks,
sorry
Alan.
about that. Right. I suppose we'll talk about the Springs now. Good news, I think. Anyway, we're looking at the Void performance, and it's come down from 13 in Q1 to 11 in Q2, and basically we're looking at a surplus in the Springs, and of course, because it's the Springs, this surplus gets put aside to be part and parcel of the bigger project in terms of revitalising Buxton. So that's gone up from 183,000 to 264,000. So that's probably as a result of those two voids having actual people in there, and that's good. Anything about the Springs? You were asking. You were saying something about you wanted to ask something about the Springs, Chair.
No, I didn't specifically have one about this, but given that you've invited me in, it was just no, Alan. It's good news that the voids have gone down.
Yeah.
I just wanted to sort of get a view from Martin, because I think he's mentioned this before. We regularly talk to people about, you know, that people have rent valuations come up and all these sorts of things. So, Martin, you know, if you project this forward, is it still looking healthy for a few months?
Yeah, no, I'm obviously mindful we're not in part. I'm going to be feedback
fine.
here.
Maybe
Somebody got the television on?
I'll take it offline with you, Martin. Okay.
Yes, that'd be better. Thank you.
We've got somebody
I don't
with
know
the
who's
television on.
it's gone. Whoever it
It's
was
gone.
muted, Alan. Okay.
That's okay. I thought it was just me.
No.
Right, so we talked about the Springs housing revenue account. Right, provisional outturn for the housing revenue account basically represents a loss of 1.046 million, which basically the reduction, there's a reduction in the use of reserves of 23,000, almost 24,000 as of Q1. So in the budget, it was forecast to be well over £1 million using reserves. So that's to complete the capital programme and everything else. So actually, that's improved from Q1. And primarily, the reasons for that is that rates, rents, taxes, and other charges there's a £78,000 potential overspend. I've missed the underspends. What's the underspends? It's all right. They're the wrong way around this time. Okay, so we'll do the overspends first. rents and rents and charges are 78,000. Interest and debt management charges are down slightly from quarter one. Quarter one was 226,000, but they've gone down a little bit now. So this is an overspend that has actually decreased. And the repairs 50,000. Now there's two significant underspends, supervision and management. That's going to be 198,000 underspent by the end of the year, and it was forecast at the end of quarter one to be 134. So that's actually better. And dwelling rents 80,000, improved dwelling rent forecast, downward revision of rent losses arising. So therefore we're getting bills paid. I see I've got some
Yes, I was just
questions.
okay. So Councillor Sizeland first, Alan.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was the underspend I was concerned about on the nutrient neutrality. Isn't this money to mitigate issues with selling some of the buildings and converting buildings? If you see do you see what I mean?
I think that comes in the capital section, doesn't it? But the money we got from nutrient neutrality,
it's not in the HRA, is it?
It's no, it's that's the capital budget, and that's 2 and a bit million. I'll talk about that later. And that's not in the HRA.
Okay,
Sorry,
well,
Kath.
all right. It was just on the that page, so I just
Was
thought
it?
I would
Was
bring
that?
it up. Page 30.
Martin.
Yeah, nutrient. I was just going to say, Councillor Barrow, the nutrient neutrality isn't in the housing revenue account, but the nutrient neutrality programme is to do with the septic tanks that we're getting. So we got some grant funding to bring them in. It relies on just lining everything up to get all of those who may benefit lined up to accept the work and have it done, and then us to contract for it and get it all done. It's just taking a bit longer. It's not. There's no threat to losing the grant or the potential benefit.
No, in fact, we've just employed a nutrient neutrality officer, and she started and she came round with the planning site visits. So she's gonna work with Ben and look at exactly that to manage that system. But that does come later.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Kath.
One more for you, Alan. Councillor Collins.
Yeah, perhaps this comes under the implementation that isn't really finance, but I think there's 78.
I've apologised for that one.
Sorry, I haven't got the programme nothing up. There's an increase in void council tax charges, which we know about, and obviously in some ways that's really good, but it seems a pity if the council is sort of paying itself because it's got the voids. So yeah, I mean, that's it.
6.5, Joanna. Yeah, I think Martin wants to come in and
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. It's a tricky thing, voids, because of course we want to make sure that we when we take a property that we get in, assess it properly and then get it right for the next tenant to come in. Absolutely right. And we've had a few niggles around that recently where it's not quite gone as well as we wanted it to. So we've just gone back with Alliance Norse just to look back over what is the standard that we're looking for when we hand a void over, and then making sure that we've got all the operational systems and processes that make that work. To some extent, taking a bit longer over that to get it right, whilst frustrating for those who obviously desperately want to take the property, I can understand. But we want to get it right and make sure that when they come in, they've got a warm, decent home for them to live in. When we get it right, the question then is, how do we make it right but faster? And that's what will come next.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Shannon. Okay, Alan.
Right.
you.
Done that.
I think you're onto the general fund
Yes.
capital program.
It's all right. I have to keep going back. My apologies.
Yeah.
Okay. General fund capital. Well, to be honest, that's staying pretty much as is. There's some additional budgets there that we're looking at. We've approved Water Swallows Depot fencing and lighting, and Buxton Town Centre regeneration. There's 78,000 to acquire some land for a future car park, which you know about, Chair. And the 4 significant variances. Property services are underspent in terms of by 1.4 million. Several projects within the asset management programme have been reprofiled, including Pavilion Gardens, boiler and re-roofing, which now is expected to go into 2026-27. ICT, again, LGR, I talked about in the first thing, one of the first things I said, that there's 300,000 there, thick end of, that we're not buying replacement software, but there is an on-cost to keeping the original software working. Leisure services, underspent. New Mills Leisure Centre refurbishment is moving forward, and has been reprofiled in line with the latest forecasts when the main construction phase is expected to start. And we've got, as you see, the Bankswood play area. Regeneration of the Future High Street Fund redevelopment on Buxton Town Centre. The variance is due to the timings of the spend. Amount was originally profiled for 26-27, but will now occur this year. And there's the neutrality underspend because of the this is, as we talked about a few minutes ago, Martin said it's the buy-in of the installing of the septic tanks, and that'll give us credits to enable us to allow building in Buxton, which is really good. Consequently, the overall capital funding, which is expected to be applied to 25-26, is lower than the revised budget approval, resulting in reduced in year of about £1.5 million. As in revenue accounts, the capital for that is pretty much as is in the document, and at this stage several projects have been deferred, talking about the ICT homes housing system, and it's called OHMS, and that's basically $1 million. There's some work at Winster Mews has been changed. The number of dwelling purchases are anticipated to be greater based on the latest forecast that will be an overall underspend of £500,000. So any comments, questions before I go on to the last bit, which is treasury and borrowing?
Just a comment, Alan. So
yeah,
on the fleet, the general fleet, not the HRA fleet, we seem to be in a better position of predicting it. I think I remember last year we were getting a few shocks in the fleet space, but it seems, you know, there's a variance there, but it's only a slight variance now. So I think that's a positive thing.
Good. Okay. Well, to be honest, in terms of investments, there's a shortfall of 97,000 is forecast against the budget, but is subject to change on these factors, and that's actually down from 117,000 so on Q1, so that's a little bit better off. And in terms of the borrowing, that is exactly the same as Q1. There are no changes or no foreseeable changes through this Q2, and revenue collections, council tax business rates and sundry debtors I've already talked about in terms of that at my start. And with that, Chair, you'll be pleased to know that's the end of that section.
Okay, one other question. So, Alan, we go to the Housing Revenue Account Capital Programme. We've spoken about the fire doors quite a lot, so it's just a sort of one-off question. I think the table's sort of indicating that the fire doors will be completed, expected outturn 25-26.
Correct.
Equals the budget. That's correct.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, fab.
If you look, I think it was over £2 million initially. We've done some, and it's going to be spent by the end of 25-26.
Well, that's
Unless
positive.
anybody else wants to say anything. Martin, no? Right. Okay, so now I've got to get my machine up for the next section.
Thanks, Alan. I think that went well, just sectioning it.
Yeah, I think it's easier in person where you can actually, I can actually see it, but I'm trying to read and look at the screen. But yeah, I thought it was, I thought it went well. So it was a good suggestion of mine, perhaps.
Yeah, it was.
Right.
So we move on to the second update procurement. That's the one we're on. I think it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Just, are there any comments about it? It's all there. There's no, I don't go through all this lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's just if you have anything.
I think some of these are actually on the previous report anyway,
Yes,
because
they are.
You know, things like the radon fans I saw previously and things like that.
Well, this Q2 takes into consideration what we've procured, you know, and it might have just gone over the date slightly.
No, I think everybody's happy with this, Alan. No questions,
Okay.
So I think you can move on.
Performance.
Yeah.
Again, it's self-explanatory. If there's anything anybody wants to ask, feel free. Tanya's here, willing and able to. No questions?
Just ask Tanya if there's anything that she thinks we should be paying any attention to specifically. If not, it's not, no problem.
No, I think the report's quite clear, actually. You've got 66%. We're on track. And 58% of those are actually performing better than in the previous years. So at the moment, we're not worried about any of them. Some, they do go up and down throughout the year. But obviously the outturn's the most important as we get to the end of the year, but we constantly monitor them. They are discussed by heads of service at the monthly AMT meetings. So we do monitor them throughout the year quite closely.
Okay. Before I bring Councillor Quinn in, so Martin, you said you'd make a note earlier about Councillor's comments about waste and recycling. I think in Q1, when we saw the complaints graph, we saw that there was a slightly higher number of complaints about waste and recycling than there was in Q1. So it was pretty much the same profile as you're seeing here, that we're seeing a few more complaints in Q2 now than we saw in Q2 last year, which looks a little bit like a trend. I don't expect anything back, Tanya, on that. It's just I'm keeping an eye on that one because it seems to reflect what councillors are saying.
Okay.
Okay. Councillor Collins.
Yes, the contamination of the recycling. I mean, again, Pat, I don't know if people here can respond, but it looks very high. And obviously this does actually affect income because of selling recycling. So, yeah, I just wondered how that was being tackled. I mean, I know it's to do with residents' behaviour, but yeah, it seems that we need to be quite rigorous about that, really.
I've
Yeah,
got a problem.
I don't have an answer for that, but we can certainly get Elaine to feedback on that.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And just to add to that, clearly it's been noticed, and you're not wrong, Councillor Collins, that it does affect the price that you get for the recycle it when you turn up at the gate. So there's some work going to be done in terms of education. Remind people what needs to go where. One of the significant challenges, the worst challenge to face is those who just stick their waste anywhere they want. But there's a lot of people who are just, for the right reasons, but getting the wrong outcome, putting the wrong things in the wrong place. So getting the education right on that, because the things do change in terms of whether or not you can recycle cling film and wrapping versus cardboard and plastics. So there's going to be a program of education around that to help people understand what needs to go where. And then for the other category of folk who just don't engage with this sort of thing, then we're going to be looking much more closely, and we've asked AES to look at this in terms of what's in the bins and making sure that those who are, let's call them offenders, are aware that they are, and that there's a process then of escalating that level of offence, as it were, as we go forward. So there's a couple of things there that I'm aware of. There may be others as well.
Good. And if we can, I mean, if there are materials that councillors can, I don't know, put in local parish magazines in the Hope Valley, where they have that kind of facility, or any facility really, to spread the message. So if we could be alerted to the materials.
Yeah, we'll certainly use all means that we can to get the word out, and we'll take that back as well.
Yeah, good thought, Joanne.
Thank you.
Councillor Quinn.
Hi, okay. This is the last bit of whinging I'm going to do tonight, so I'm just going to. There are.
Can I hold you to this?
No. So the toilets, there has been considerable disquiet, and I've got to say it really hasn't been good enough. We haven't got it specifically referred to here, but the toilets were refurbished late. They were supposed to be shut for 13 weeks. They were shut for ages and ages. There was nothing really to tell people what was happening. We've got something about tourism strategies here, and we went through the whole of summer with Buxton, a tourist town, with no toilets in the town centre, and a sign that simply said, go to the Pavilion Gardens. And I really think we need to do better on that. It was awful. Other things as well that I've picked up on, the housing is generally pretty good, but I think our monitoring of a private let needs to be improved, and the way we respond to problems and issues with that. I really think that makes a difference to our tenants. We've got new legislation coming in which should help us, but that's going to be an issue, because I know that a lot of councils don't have the capacity to actually enforce what is in the bill. So that's going to be a problem going forwards. And the last thing I was going to say as well, we've got a key aim to increase recycling, but we've got the simpler recycling coming in, which we know is going to decrease the recycling from garden waste, because people possibly won't do it. I think a lot of people won't. And if you're just bunging stuff in the black bin regardless, that might have an impact on your recycling with other things as well. So I think that we need to look at that really carefully, those three things. They're not really questions. I'm not expecting to come back now, but I do think we need to consider where we're going with those three things.
Okay. I think Anthony's got his hand up, possibly in response to
Anthony, and then I'll come back to you, Councillor Sutherland.
Chair, you may want to take Kath first, because I suspect I'm maybe incorrectly guessing, but I'm guessing that Kath may want to raise a toilet issue as well, possibly.
Let's do that then. So let's take Councillor Sutherland, then we'll come back to you, Anthony. Yeah.
I feel your pain, Rachel. It has been terrible in Buxton. I felt really embarrassed as a busy to go into Buxton, and people are asking me and other people. It has been terrible. It's as bad in Chapel. The thing is,
can we not put any clauses on work that's going to be done that says it's, you know, it's got to be done by such a time, or you will, you know, pay a penalty, something like that? Can something like that not be done? Because every project overruns by a large amount of time, and I think this does need looking at. So that is comment and question. The other thing, simpler recycling. I mean, is this a mandatory thing we have to do? Because, you know, we've got a great recycling setup. We've got a great recycling setup, and now it seems we're having to spend a load of money on something that we may not get as much money back, if you know what I mean, or as much recycling done, which defeats the object.
With the greatest of respect, Kath, I'm afraid it's down to your administration previously. So, because they're the ones that brought it, in and give us all the money, and so we won't go down that route because it's a political argument. But I do sympathise with you in that respect.
We didn't need to, they could have cancelled it. That's all I can say.
On that note, I'll defer to Anthony.
You're muted, Chair.
You're on silent, Chris.
Thanks, Alan. Kath, have you got a supplementary?
I just wanted to mention about the amount of complaints about bins.
Yeah.
I can totally see why this is. People need to know that we are actually getting new bins, which might make them feel a bit better, because they are past the life now, or we can't or are not getting bin lids and replacing them. So that's a big issue, and I have got an issue that, can somebody come back to me on it, because I don't know where to go, and it's just become ludicrous.
What's that?
About bins on an unadopted road.
Oh.
Somebody's complained about something, and now the whole thing is they want all the bins, people to take all the bins to the end of the road, and it's a huge issue, and I don't know where to go about it.
So Martin, before I call Anthony back in, I'm going to call Martin in, because I think Martin's potentially got
digging the
something.
heels in, and I don't think they're being fair, to be frank.
Right. What I'll say, Councillor Sizeland, if you just pop me an email with the details, I'll look into it.
Thank you. That's the end of my whinging too.
I might regret that, but I shall look into it.
Okay.
Good luck.
So back to you, Anthony.
Thanks, Chair. Just on bin issues, if it's relating to Bank Hall, Kath, I'm aware that officers are looking into that particular issue at the moment. If it's somewhere else in Chapel, if you can let Martin know the details and we can investigate further.
It's somewhere else. It's somewhere else.
Right.
Anthony. I understand what's going on.
Just in terms of delightful toilet stock, as has been flagged up in various other occasions, whilst we do try and sort of include performance statistics in terms of any of the contracts that we let, just because of the nature of some of our particular buildings, they come with their own particular challenges. In terms of the toilets, there was a delay on them because of the doors and security arrangements, etc., that have been put in place, which have meant the contract was extended beyond that time. In terms of the chapel ones, which was the question I was sort of expecting from Kath, we've managed to find some of the older versions of the roof of the chapel toilets, which has then sort of caused the job to have to be stopped. Whilst those were investigated, other options were found in terms of sort of being able to complete the works, and the works are now restarting. But the particular issue in terms of just making sure that we've got the right messaging up in terms of what's causing the delay and why there is a delay, it's been explored with Adrian Markov, our newish communications person, just to make sure that sort of those communications updates are put in place there was a plan in place to do that, but unfortunately, the member staff at Norse that was agreed to take on that task and make sure the works were done is no longer with Norse. So that's why those works weren't done at that particular time, but we're looking at alternative routes around that at the moment. But in terms of both the sets of toilets, and there was an issue raised in the briefing just around sort of information on, particularly for the Silverland toilets, just around some of the changes that have happened since the work's been done, that we're just having a look at, sort of just to make sure we can get the right information on, sort of right user information within the toilets. Just the last one, Chair. AES is obviously due at the next meeting of community. So for anyone that's not been able to get a particular answer to a bins or directly related query, I'm sure they'll be able to help more directly with that at that meeting. Thanks.
Thank you.
You're on mute, Chair.
Councillor Gruby's got
Councillor
a hand up.
Gruby.
Thank you. So just to sort of waylay people slightly, and always I'm ever the optimist, as you know, and look at eggs and omelettes and all this. I was the one probably that drove these toilets to be done, and Martin and I had a lovely time visiting the toilets before they were done. Yes, we overran by 5 weeks, and he also knows that I've been pushing his buttons on that one. But let's look on the bright side. Those toilets are immaculate. They are fabulous now. I've already been in them twice. So let's look on the bright side. We've achieved something here. Yes, it was delayed. Yes, we needed to do it, but we couldn't do it unless we shut them. So they're done and they're good. So thanks, everyone.
Well done, Linda.
And
thank you.
Fair play, fair play to you, Linda. And I hope that this solution is going to stop some of that vandalism that was going on.
So do I.
I'm pretty positive that it will.
Well, it's difficult to move those doors. So yes, thank you.
Because I must be honest, we spent quite a lot of money on Sylvan. Then they get vandalised, and then we had to spend what we've ended up spending. I mean, that's an awful lot of money that the council has investment that the council's put in. So, and that's one of the reasons why we brought in the charge, unfortunately. But that also goes into cleaning. So
yeah, and it's also protects it from vandalism.
Yeah.
So yeah, go and have a look if you're in Buxton. Don't miss the opportunity.
Thank
you.
Is there one of those toilets of the year calendars that you can get?
I hope so. If there is, I want my picture on it.
I've got one for telegraph poles, so there must be one for toilets. Okay, so moving on to the draft medium-term financial plan. I think it's back to you,
Alan. Actually, no, it's down to Martin.
Oh, is it Martin? Sorry.
Yeah,
Martin, it's your turn.
Yeah, I'm very pleased with the outcome from the toilets, and that people are recognising that, and certainly probably won't be the end of the snagging and things, but we'll keep a monitor on that. So, medium-term financial plan, you've got the report in there. Apologies, it didn't come out with the papers before. The circumstances we're in now, well, to be fair, as we have been each year, about this time of the year, we're putting together our forward forecast for the next 4 years. Won't be lost on you that a couple of those years are beyond our expected life, given local government reorganisation. But as of today, and as of the production of the report, and as we meet, then High Peak Borough Council, we are planning for a 4-year period within that. So it's a difficult challenge to both account for local government reorganisation, but also consider that should local government reorganisation not happen, High Peak Borough Council carries on, that we're in a position that we can deal with both of those factors. So quite a headache in regards to that. So you've got a medium-term financial plan. It's not balanced, as it wasn't this time last year either. We're awaiting the settlement. Clearly the budget's coming up, and we'll be watching that closely in terms of the impacts on any of the assumptions that we've made in the medium-term financial plan. But the settlement will be really significant for us this year, perhaps more significant than many a year, because the other challenge that we're trying to tackle is what the Fair Funding 2.0 will look like for us. The assumption for us is that we will lose money. You might recall that Fair Funding was organised to try to make the distribution of government funding across the whole of the council network fairer and more equitably distributed. We're in the category that we expect to be seeing some negative effects of Fair Funding 2.0. And also the effect of that related to it is a review of non-domestic rates, so business rates, and what we do around that. And as those of you who've been on this committee and others for many a year will know, we've been historically part of Derbyshire's pooling arrangements for business rates, and it was never a question as to whether or not we should do that. As it stands at the moment, it looks like we won't be part of those pooling arrangements. And a similar situation as we've got in Staffordshire, and same reason. So trying to navigate all of that, as I say, with many levels of uncertainty is a challenge. And so between now and February, we'll have had the settlement, and the finance team will be working to plug in all of the updated factors around inflation, interest rates, etc., the normal sort of stuff. But significantly for us is, what does the settlement tell us? How much do we actually get? And then any number of other policy changes and options. We've already mentioned the new waste and recycling requirements. There is some grant funding, but there are some requirements with some of that. So navigating all of that, a bit of a challenge. So I was going to invite Keith in just to give some of the key headlines in terms of the assumptions and the outputs.
Keith?
Thanks, Martin. Yeah, this time of year, we always put a first iteration of the medium-term financial plan together in a environment of uncertainty. The biggest piece of the jigsaw doesn't emerge until December, very late in the process, when the local government settlement comes into place. So we always wrestle this time of year with the uncertainty of what the settlement might hold. This year, it's even more uncertain because of the factors that the major factors that Martin's mentioned about funding. So we have uncertainty about what level of grants we might get, and we have uncertainty about some of the key apparatus that we've operated with over the last few years, the business rates pool, the revenue support grants. So all that uncertainty puts us in a position where we have to reflect at this time what we do know, but also highlight in the report the risks that are attached to what we don't know. Now, this report's perhaps less about the numbers, but it is perhaps worth just focusing for a little while on some of the numbers. We're showing an unbalanced position, which draws about just under £500,000 from reserves if we were to, if nothing else changed in the figures. We'd be in an unbalanced position by the fourth year to the tune of about £400,000. So that's clearly needs amending. But that is in the context of also us reflecting in the plan £1 million a year income from green waste recycling. So we've worked on the numbers that are being forecast by AES in terms of garden waste charging and garden waste take up. So it was mentioned earlier about 50% take up within the borough. So we're building that thinking into the plan. So despite the fact that we're including in our numbers green waste charge of those amounts, we still find ourselves in the situation where we have a deficit position. So if things move against us in the settlement in December, that position could get a lot worse. So it's really about recognising that those risks do exist, but also reflecting that we're not in a dire position, but we don't know quite where the movements might be in the next month.
Thanks, Keith. Has anybody got any questions? I'm not sure, Keith, about the green bins either. So I did share the consultation on one of the Buxton sort of social media sites. There's a bit of a mixed reaction. Some people saying that they would pay for the bin. Some people saying that they just stick their green waste in the black bin. And then it was sort of hard to tell. And I think we'll only ever know the answer to the green waste when people start signing up to the money.
Yeah,
I think if they don't, oh, sorry, go on, Keith. Yeah,
I was going to say we're working with a partner with this within AES. Cheshire East have gone through this process some years ago, and we're being guided by their experience to some extent. So they've done this and found that take up quite quickly got to 50%, and that's what we are projecting in our first iteration of the plan. We're pitching it at a level which is still to be determined in terms of charging. The numbers on there are based on the original report that Elaine put out regarding this, subject to the working group, joint waste working group. But we have to be wary within the fees and charges that if we face a position where we are losing funding, we may need to look at what level of charging we do make to make up the difference.
Okay, Councillor Collins.
Sorry, always seems to be me. Yeah, I've just got one thing about risk, which won't surprise anybody. That on page 24, among risks, you list, well, you call it weather, but weather, climate change. On page 30, you don't mention climate change as a risk and a possible cost, in fact. So there could be floods which affect council houses, for example. I mean, I know that we're not the flood authority. Floods and droughts can affect assets. I mean, there could be immediate costs to the council from climate change, apart from any more complicated matters. So I just thought that perhaps risks should go on the risks on page 30 as well. I haven't actually got it up. I'll just get it up so I know what I'm talking about.
I'm sorry, you're still going. I was going to pick up that.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, so clearly what we're trying to cover off in terms of financial risks are where they're uninsured losses. So if we've got an insured loss, there may be a timing issue for us, but we'll be able to deal with it and handle it. And floods, for the most part, to our assets and properties, we are covered for. So financially, we don't need to include them in a risk register of itself. But if the event would take us beyond the level of insurance cover that we've got, then we would need to, by necessity, consider, well, what would the further implication of that be? But we're always looking with our risks to mitigate them, and the most obvious answer to most risks relating to our assets is to have insurance cover that does that for us.
Yeah, I don't know if you know, but there are cases, I don't know, I mean, I've heard a rumour that this is applying in Derbyshire, haven't seen the evidence, of insurance companies actually not insuring property against climate risks, obviously, because they, on balance, they think the risks are very likely. So I think that's probably one to keep an eye on rather than, it might not be immediate, I don't know. But.
Yeah, and it's always the case, isn't it? And until you call on your insurance company, you never really know how good they are, do you? Now, I touch all wood in that when we've called on our insurance companies for claims in recent years, the response has been excellent, and in fact far better than I even expected, because it was not just for them a matter of resolving the financial risk. It was also to give us help, advice, and resolution as well. So we obviously are a bigger organisation in terms of buying that insurance, but we also do it in a partnership with other councils as well. So our purchasing power is much stronger to be able to drive hopefully what we'll see to be a good deal with our insurers. But until you call on them, which you hope you never have to, you just never really know. But it's right, we do and will monitor the ongoing risks around those things.
Right, thank you.
Councillor Quinn.
Yeah, just picking up on that. I don't know if anyone else read it. I was reading an article today. Apparently, insurance companies do try and spread some of the risk on flooding, flood risk. However, the extent of flooding that is occurring is becoming so great that they might not be able to cover it in the future. So that is something that possibly will change with greater flooding. Also, I'm just wondering as well, in terms of planning, is there any liability if any flooding downstream can be seen as a result of planning decisions? I don't know if and that's anything we need to think about for the future. It's probably longer term as well.
Shall I take those, Chair?
Yeah, take those, and then I'll call Councillor McEwen in, and then I think we'll move on to the next agenda item.
Yeah, okay. So again, Councillor Quinn, getting value for money. A couple of questions. So the first, the onward markets around insurers and risks and sharing the program of risk profiles. To be fair, that's what the insurance market's always done, in that the front-facing entity that we deal with, our insurers, will behind them be looking at what cover that they might need to help them hedge the insurance cover that they give. Now, the reality is we have a contract with the insurers that we've got, and we're comfortable with the level of cover that we get and the price that we pay. We'd always do with a better, lower price, but we're comfortable with that. How they manage their business behind that, that's a matter for the regulators, etc., in terms of the insurance markets. What was the second part of the question?
And whether or not we carried any risk ourselves in our planning.
Planning, yeah.
Downward.
Yeah, so there's no risk reported to us in terms of from our planning department, in terms of looking at the ongoing strategic risk, because of course planning works within a legal framework, and providing advice and guidance and approval of planning applications is a matter for fitting in with the guidance, the interpretation of the law. We can on occasion be subject to a challenge around planning matters, and we've seen that happen more so in the Moorlands recently. But as for an entity or individual taking up a case against the planning authority as a result of some flooding further on, that's not something that we currently have as a risk for us, because of operating within the framework with qualified people and taking the right legal advice.
Okay, thanks, Martin. Councillor Bob McEwen.
Yeah, thank you. I was just going to say the same as Martin there. We have this at nearly every planning meeting, but of course we take advice from the leading flood authority, and you know that covers us, which is Derbyshire County Council normally, and often gets asked that, but once we took expert advice, we're covered.
Thanks, Councillor McEwen. Okay, I think we will move on to the next agenda item. Thank you, Martin.
Chair.
Yes.
Chair, can I just refer you back to the recommendation on that report, please?
Oh, sorry. Hang on. Need to go all the way back to page 1, Rachel. It's on the other page, that's why. Hang on. Just bear with me a second.
Do you want me to read it out, Chair?
No. It's, I've got it, Alan. It's because I went to the appendix, I think. Oh, hang on.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, yes, it's because I went to the appendix. Okay, thanks, Rachel. So the recommendation is that members of the committee endorse the updated draft medium-term financial plan, Appendix A, with the recommendation that it should proceed to the executive for approval prior to being refined in advance of full approval in February 2026. So could I have a proposer? Thanks, Councillor Clark, and thanks, Councillor McEwen. Okay, so hang on, I just need to get back to my agenda now. So with that, we
Chair,
move on.
just
Yeah.
sorry to drag you back, but actually Rachel's flagged up something. Did we go through the recommendations for the second quarter? That's just recommended that the corporate select discuss and note
Yes,
the finance procurement.
Which we did. There wasn't anything to vote on, was there?
No, sorry about that.
That's okay. Keep me on my toes, Alan. It's good. Right. Okay. So, bear with me a second. Okay. I think right. So the next item on the agenda is the annual health and safety report. We've got David Owen with us to talk about that. And before you start, David, thank you for answering those couple of questions that I gave to Rachel in advance of the meeting. Okay.
Thank you. Would you like me to start, Councillor Payne, now?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Well, good evening, everybody. For the benefit of you that don't know me, I'm David Owen. I'm the Council's Corporate Health and Safety Manager. And what I'd like to do is just give you a couple of minutes. I'll go through my report and talk about the various elements that I'm referring to. So we have in the executive summary 37 accompanying policies that we have in place that list our documentation and our policy in relation to the policies. We also have corporate commitment to health and safety, where we share the results with Pauline Forrest, who's actually now one of our she's one of our people on the safety committee. We also have provision of health and safety advice. That's what I do. That's what I give and give to the council and to elected members. Monitoring of contractors in section 5. There's also quite a detailed section at the end of section 6 on what I do from a health and safety point of view. There's a section on corporate health and safety training. We've had 597 training opportunities over the last year, including 214 training places covering counter-terrorism, emergency planning related issues. That again gives us the confidence that our staff know what they're doing. We're also in a position whereby we're talking about proactive health and safety monitoring in the form of the audits that I've done of some of our companies that work for the council. Some of the health and safety inspections, again, that's also talking about what we've done and why we're doing it. Reactive health and safety monitoring, talking about near misses. And for example, within the year so far, we've been 12 near misses during 2024-2025. There's also been a number of lost time accidents, which you can see in the section. And the section there above Rideau, or below Rideau, shows you the actually accidents we've had and what they're about. And accidents to members of the public, there's also detail in that below there as well. And we haven't had any a lost time accidents this year, which is good news. We did have some response from Derbyshire Fire and Rescue Service related to some of the routine fire door inspections, but that's all good. We've also had the actions that I've undertaken over the last 12 months and additional key work actions as well. In addition to that, we've sectioned, just in a second, we're in a position whereby we've got the plans and targets for 25-26. So that's a list of all the work I'll be doing for the next 12 months. There is also significant and emerging risks. So we talk about asbestos, we talk about Legionella and fire safety and where we're going with that. And obviously, we're looking at the work that we're doing with our partner who are Alliance North for the housing properties, the fire doors, flat entrance doors, etc. There's some information there. We've got £2.5 million been allocated to address this. There's also eternal wall and balcony inspections that have been done in relation to our obligations under fire safety legislation. There's obviously some work that we're doing in relation to our corporate properties and need to improve fire safety standards at Morelands House. And there is £158,000, not 156, which is down in the report. That's got to be looked at as part of what we're doing with that building. And that's something that Martin and Keith are looking at. There's obviously concern about employee wellbeing, making sure that our staff are fit for work, and that during last winter, 55 employees have had free flu evacuations arranged by the council. And we've also had occupational health. We've had 41 referrals to occupational health clinics in the period 15 stress related. And I've also, for the first time, included a little bit on emergency planning into this plan, because that's a part that I do have quite a lot of involvement in, and talk about the various exercises and the business continuity elements as they apply to us. And then the conclusion is in my report at the end there, where I'm pleased to report with my 17th report, and I believe there are 4 key areas of change. Our first challenge is to manage the change, and through the various mechanisms we've got in place, we should ensure that we support our staff. Our third shall be accidental health reduction. And our fourth is competence in using competency where this exists within the control companies, I should say, to ensure that our staff are really doing as they should be. And then basically it talks about a thank you there, and there were some graphs and other documents at the end of the report. I'm quite prepared to answer any question if anyone's got any questions on. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Very comprehensive report. Enjoyed it. Nicely laid out. So we've got a question from Councillor Bob McKeown first.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank David again for his report. It's always interesting reading, and I always learn something new from it. What I was quite impressed about this time, because it's been quite topical, was the inspection of disused churchyards, because as well as the buildings, the trees are checked, and we've had quite a number of fatalities in the last 12 months where councils are being sued or, you know, did not check the trees properly. So I was quite impressed with that. And then compliments on the other one about fire safety. There was a bit of unrest at first with the housing staff, but when it was actually explained why, we don't want another Grenfell Towers in any of our premises, the people suddenly changed their minds then about mats being moved, and there's quite respective to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Councillor Siddle.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo the hard work and dedication that David gives to the council. I raised an issue with a broken electric box in Manor Park last year at this committee when David came to it and was in person. And the next day, David had been out first thing in the morning to inspect it. So thank you, David, for doing that. And the box that's been put in is fit for purpose, unlike the box that the contractor put in at first, which was a fiberglass box in an open park. in an open place, so that they put the wrong box in completely, and now it's a solid metal box on a concrete plinth. So thank you for doing that work, David, and thank you for sorting that for me.
Thank you, Councillor Siddle.
Thanks, Councillor Siddle. So one takeaway from me is never stick a laptop under a pillow whilst you're charging it. It's not a good idea. But I was pleased to see that we shared that information with other tenants. I have one question on the last page, David, page 22. I think it was really good last year that we saw a drop in threats to our the people who work for the council. What do you think is driving the increase this year in threats, or is this just like a natural cycle that we sort of see?
I think it's, in fairness, it's just a natural cycle. It's nothing to be worried about, to be honest with you. It's just the way things are going, to be honest with you.
Okay. That's reassuring. I mean, it's not a huge level for the amount of work that we do and the members of the public that we interact with. Okay. So has anybody else got any questions for David? Oh, Councillor Burrow, Alan.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And no, like all other councillors, I'd just like to thank David for his hard work, and you know, I know he gets paid for it, but I mean, what I'm trying to say is that he does go beyond, above and beyond, and the report, as per usual, is very good. And I discussed it with David in New Mills back a month ago, and I think we went through and now very good, very comprehensive, and thank you very much from my as the portfolio holder. Cheers.
Thank you, Councillor Barra. Thank you very much.
Okay, so the recommendation was that we were to note the report. I think we're happy to note the report. Thank you, David.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on then to the next item on the agenda. I don't think we've had any questions referred to the executive member 4 days prior to the meeting. Rachel?
None, Chair.
No. Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to item 10, which is exclusion of the press and the public. To resolve that the press and the public be excluded from the meeting during consideration of the following items of business, as there may be disclosure of exempt information as defined in Part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972. So I think if we just wait until we stop the recording.